Welcome to Learner's Planet, my dear children. Dear children, today is session 2 about growing plants. So children, this is quiz session 2 in which we are going to solve some logical questions and answers about growing plants. So children, be ready to think for these interesting questions and answers. So children, read the question very carefully and try to think at what could be the answer. Alright children? So children, there is only one pattern or one format of question, that is just question and answers. No multiple choice, no filling the blanks, and no true or false. Alright? So we'll start with the first question, children. So children, the first question goes as, the coconut tree grows in the coastal areas. Right? And as you know children, that in nature, seeds disperse by themselves. So, due to this property of nature, the sea current carries the sea current which has water. This water carries the coconut seeds away with it. Right? Because sea current means the ocean currents and the sea currents, there is always a flow of water going on, right? A very high flow of water goes on, and because of this flow of water carried away the coconut seeds with it. And what is the question ahead? That some seeds got scattered on the wet soil near the coastal areas and some seeds got scattered on the snow and some in the desert. So here you can see three conditions, right? The seeds got scattered on the wet soil near the coastal areas, then it got scattered on the snow and in the desert, right? So children, the question to you is that which seeds will germinate into a big coconut plant? How is it possible, children? The first thing is that seeds require the condition like air, water, warmth, nutrients and even space to grow. So think children that all the conditions are being provided to these seeds, right? And the second thing is that we have studied about the dispersal process, right? So children, coconut tree, we found coconut tree almost near the water, that is in the coastal areas, right? So as you have studied about the dispersal process by water, there are some seeds of some plants which have a fibrous or spongy covering, right? So children, coconut is such plant whose seeds are having spongy or fibrous covering. So because of this sponginess and the fibrous covering, they are able to float on water, right? And because they float on water, water can easily transport these seeds from one place to another place, right? So as we can see here that a condition is applied in this question, right? A condition has been showed to us that due to sea current, water is able to transport, it is able to carry the coconut seeds away with it. And because of the sea and the ocean current, what happens? Coconut seeds get transported from one place to another place. Now, which are the places which have been mentioned over here? The three places have been mentioned, right? The first place which has been shown over here is that it got scattered on the wet soil, right? With conditions provided that it is getting air and even warmth, even space to grow, because there is many space near the coastal areas, right? And even it is getting air. So children, this is the first condition mentioned, that coconut seeds got scattered on the wet soil. Now secondly, what they have mentioned, that seeds got scattered on the snow. So there is much space for these seeds to grow, right? There is much space where there is snow, right? And there are some seeds which got scattered in the desert. So children, as you know, that desert is also very large, right? There is much space in the desert. So children, the seeds are getting space to grow, even they are getting air. But what is the twist over here? Will they be able to germinate the places which are mentioned over here? Yes. The first which is mentioned is actually wet soil. Children, the answer will be that coconut tree will be able to germinate on the wet soil, right? The coconut seeds will be able to germinate on the wet soil, right? Now, how is this possible? Why they will not grow on the snow and the desert? Because coconut seeds require plenty of water, right? That is why they are grown at such places, right? If the seeds will got scattered on the snow, that will not be a favorable condition, because it is a very cold region, and coconut does not grow in the cold region, and also it does not grow in the hotty region, that is desert. So these are not favorable conditions for the coconut seeds to germinate. They will not get water in the desert area, so they will not be able to germinate. They will not be able to get food, and even they will not be able to get that much of air and warmth on the snowy region, right? You can also consider as the mountainous region. So they will not get that much required amount or conditions which are favorable for them to germinate. So the conditions which are favorable for the coconut seeds to germinate is the wet soil. So they will be able to germinate on the wet soil. Alright children. Now let's have a look at another question, children. Yes. The second question is, seeds are carried away by some animals or birds. Alright. This is a condition given to you, that dispersal of tamarind seeds, just like other seeds which we will discuss, they are carried away by some animals or birds, right? So the question is that some seeds fell in the jungle, The second condition mentioned over here, that some fell on the kitchen garden, right? And some seeds fell in the water. So children, at which place do you think the tamarind seeds will grow into a new plant? That is a new tamarind plant. So children, as you know, we discussed about the dispersal process, the dispersal of seeds by animals, in which we studied that animals as well as human beings eat some fruits, right? And they throw away the seeds. And when they throw away the seeds, they get scattered by themselves. So children, when they scattered by themselves and when all the conditions are fulfilled by the environment to the seeds, certain seeds grow into new plants. Alright? Conditions apply that all the required factors are essential and they have been provided with it. Now you know that certain seeds have hooks, stiff hair, spines which help in their dispersal, right? But here in this question, here there is no such hook or stiff hair or spines available, right? But children, tamarind seeds are actually carried away by some animals or birds, right? Because tamarind seeds have spine or hook, or they have stiff hair. What is there? They do not have any spine, they do not even have hooks. So what do they have? They have stiff hair, because of which the seeds stick to the body of these animals and birds. So what will happen? The tamarind seeds which are having very stiff hair will be stick to the bodies, on the bodies of animals and birds, and then they are carried away from the mother plant or the parent plant, right? As they have stick to the bodies of animals and birds, they will be carried away from the parent plant. And what will happen then? How does this dispersal process will take place? Yes, birds and animals also eat fruits, right? So they will eat this, and what will happen if there was a condition mentioned that the fruits have been eaten by animals and birds, then the situation would be that seeds pass through their digestive system in an undigested form, and then they are dispersed to other areas through their excreta or the feces, right? But now these are the tamarind seeds. So what will happen? They will stick to the body of these animals and birds, and then they will be carried away from one place to another place, and then they will be dispersed to other areas. So in this way, some animals or birds travel in the jungle, and the seeds got dispersed or they fell in the jungle. Then some of the birds, they travel to the kitchen garden. So some seeds fell on the kitchen garden and some fell in the water because of the transport of, because of the dispersal by animals and birds, animals or birds. Right? So children, is this clear to you that dispersal has now been taken place? But now we have to see that are all the conditions applied or all the conditions fulfilled for these seeds to grow? Yes children, what can be the possible answer children? Yes children, you can think, you will get the answer. Yes, the seeds which fall on the kitchen garden or which fell on the kitchen garden will be able to germinate. So children, how is this possible? Yes children? Think children, what can be the answer children? Why aren't they able to germinate in the jungle? The third situation which has been mentioned is the water. They will not be able to germinate in the water because these seeds do not germinate in water. Right? This is not an aquatic plant, so this will not germinate in water. That is for sure. The second condition is that they fell in the jungle. So jungle also contains some of the soil, right? But in jungle there are many such plants. They will compete with each other for the space to grow, for the warmth and also for the water. So tamarind seeds will not be able to get all the required or all the essential conditions. So it will not be favorable for them to germinate in the jungle. That is why on the kitchen garden they will get all the favorable conditions because the kitchen garden is very small, right? And they have space where these seeds can grow into a new tamarind plant, right? So children, they will be able to germinate if they will fall on the kitchen garden. Alright children? So children, I hope this question is clear to you. Let's see another question children. Yes. The third question is that sunflower is a shrub, as you all know. And the seed of the sunflower plant grows into a new sunflower plant if scattered properly on the soil. As we know, any of the seed if scattered properly on the soil will be able to germinate, right? So children, the seeds of sunflower are flown away by the wind. So will the seeds be able to germinate? Just consider that all the conditions are provided, right? They are getting all the things, all the natural essential factors. But the question is, will the seeds of sunflower will be able to germinate into a new sunflower plant even when they are scattered properly on the soil? So your answer will be yes, they will be able to germinate because they are getting all the conditions, the favorable conditions, and even they are now scattered also properly on the soil. So what's the problem now? Right? So why will they not germinate? They will germinate. You will be thinking like this, right? But this is not correct children. Why is this not correct children? Yes children, what can be the answer children? The answer will be no. The seeds will not be able to germinate. Why? Because what is the answer children? I'm going to write it down. Because sunflower takes place, or the sunflower seeds will take place. How they will take place? Yes children, the sunflower seeds will take place by the dispersal by animals. Alright? Not by the wind. Because sunflower seeds are not having winged seeds, or they are not very light in weight, or they do not even hair on them, right? They do not have hair on them. So sunflower will not be able to germinate because what is in the question children? They have said that the seeds of sunflower are flown away by the wind. Right, so dispersal by wind is not taking place over here, right? The dispersal by animals is taking place over here. Alright, so seeds will not germinate. The seeds, sunflower seeds will only germinate when the dispersal by animals have taken place, but not by the wind. Alright children, so children, now let's see another question. Yes, children, you might have noticed that your mother plants a small portion of money plant in a glass. which is filled with water and with some pebbles and soil. And in the same way, she plants another money plant, but now what is the condition? What is the difference? That she is now planting it outside the house, and that too with a stick for the support, right? So she is providing stick to the money plant as a support for the plant to grow. So children, the question is that which will grow faster and why? What can be the possible answer, children? Yes, children, you must have noticed this, that your mother is planting a small portion of money plant in the glass, and you might be having also. But have you ever gave a thought that the money plant which is growing outside the house grows faster, and the money plant which has been planted in a glass of water and soil inside the house is growing, but it is growing very slowly? Why is this possible, children? Why is this taking place, children? Yes, children, what can be the answer, children? Children, do you know that what are the conditions favorable for the money plant? Let's discuss about it, children. So children, the conditions which are actually favorable for the money plant to grow is that if money plant is provided or given support, then they can grow up to 2 meters, right? And the money plant is very easy to grow in small to medium size of pots also, and they hardly need to be removed, right? But the soil should be moist, that means it should be wet, provided with the water. That is why your mother provides the water, right? It is planted with, in the glass which is filled with water always. And it is also provided with the soil which is rich in manure, right? Because manure provides all the nutrients, as you know that. And this plant can be planted around the year with ease, means very easily. So it actually also takes place by stem cutting. As you know the stem cutting method, children, we discussed in the theory session. We took an example of a rose plant. If we cut the stem of any plant, of such plants like rose or even money plant, then what will happen? That providing with sufficient conditions and the nutrients, if we will plant only a portion of stem of this money plant in the soil, after some days we will see the growth has taken place. So this is the plant in which the growth can take place by its stem cutting also, right? So children, we have to just water the soil and we have to keep in shade, because money plant is such a plant which grows very well when kept under shade, right? Because it requires very less care. Because overwatering the money plant, and even when there is more sunlight, the leaves will be yellow in color, right? And if we are not providing more of the sunlight, that means money plant requires only less sunlight, right? So if it is kept under shade, the leaves will be very dark green in color, right? So children, we have discussed about the conditions. Now let's get back to the question. The question was, which will grow faster? So children, the money plant which is actually planted outside the house and as we discussed, that if it is provided with any of the support like the stick, right? So it has been provided with the stick as a support. Because of this thing, the plant, money plant outside the house will be able to grow faster, right? So the growth of the money plant which is outside the house will be more than the money plant which is grown in a glass inside the house. Alright children, so I hope that you got the answer children. Alright, so children, now let's see another question. Yes. So children, another question is also very much logical, just you have to think. So the question goes as that if we place a middle portion of beetroot in the soil and its roots in another soil. So children, the soil in which we have placed both the parts of beetroot is full of the nutrients, right? So we are providing nutrients, that is, one condition is fulfilled, right? And now we are also providing with this condition that we are giving water regularly. That means we are watering the plant regularly and they are also able to get sufficient sunlight. Oh, so where is the twist? What is so logical, children? All the conditions have been provided, right? Now what is the question? That after some days, what will you observe? So children, first thing is that you have to see that are there all the factors fulfilled? Yes, all the factors are fulfilled. Now secondly, we have to think that beetroot is what kind of plant and how does it germinate? Children, as we studied about the plants which grow from seeds and also we studied about the plants which grow from other parts of the plant, that is from roots, from stems and leaves, right? So there are some plants whose roots will develop into a new plant, right? There are some plants in which the stem develops into new plant or the stem cutting process takes place, and there are some plants like bryophyllum where it germinates because of its leaves. So children, first of all, we should be clear with this, like for example, carrot, radish, dahlia and turnip, etc. are such plants whose roots can grow into new plant because their roots are such part of a plant which are capable of growing or capable of germinating into new plant, right? Because their leaves will not grow, their leaves are not capable to grow, or their stems, they do not have stems, right? So they are not able to grow. So children, in this we have provided the conditions that we are placing a middle portion of beetroot, right? Just like as we cut in a salad form, right? And we eat it. We are just taking a small or the middle portion of beetroot and we are placing it in the soil. And secondly, we are placing its roots in another soil. So children, the answer is that after some days we will observe that the roots of the beetroot which have placed in the soil will be able to germinate. Now how is this possible, children? As we discussed it, that some plants are able to grow only by their roots, right? So beetroot is such a plant which grows, whose roots can grow into new plant. So if we are placing a middle portion of beetroot, after some days we can see that it will get rotten, right? Because they are not consisting of any root with them. So they will not be able to germinate. But when we place the roots in another soil, providing with other essential factors like giving water and sunlight and air also, then they will be able to germinate into a new beetroot plant. Alright, because this is a plant which is capable of growing into a new plant only from its roots, not from any other part. Alright children? So I hope this question is also clear to you. So children, I hope you enjoyed this somewhat logical quiz session, right? So children, we will meet in the next quiz session with this chapter only, that is about growing plants. So children, till then, keep learning and keep thinking logically. Thank you children.